This is my Jett guide on Ascent. We're going to be splitting up attack and defense. We're going to start with defense first. So on defense, on basically more or less every duelist, I'm going to be going to any of the main contact positions to take one of the first fights, probably. So we're going to start with A main. And when you've got your dash up, you don't want to ever be taking on angles like this. These on angles are going to be angles that people are going to be ready for, especially this angle in particular. There's a lineup for it that they can get headshots every time. You do not want to be on this angle. What you want to do is when your dash is up, you want to be in some off angles like this. Makes it a lot harder. Generally, I actually wouldn't stand in this one. The reason being is because when people clear this, right, they might do the lineup, which mine is this, but I'm not sure if that's actually the best one. They'll clear this, and then they'll clear this, and then they'll clear this. They'll do it like that basically. They'll see basically everything. Like they'll have like crosshair set up on this position, then the wine like peak position, then the corner. So the one to dodge. So you want to dodge those positions. So sitting a bit here is pretty good. You don't want to sit in the deep angle unless you have an operator. The reason why you want to do it when you've got an operator is because you want to take as deep lines as possible when you've got an operator, because it cuts off the most space. So you cut off anyone sitting in that corner when you've got an operator, and also you're very, very threatening as well when you do actually peek like quite deep. You catch people off guard, peeking angles that are deeper than they expect. But so coming back on track, we're gonna sit in like this position, because if we sit in this position, it's gonna be really, really hard for them to like pre-aim where we're gonna be. So then when they come around the corner, we get a free kill. We don't dash like that. We dash like this. Yeah, that's basically it. If they are gonna like run away, or like they clearly aren't here or something like that, right? You have more info on the other side of the map. Don't be afraid to walk up, but bear in mind that your dash is very, very hard to like line up with the doorway when you're like diagonal from it, right? You get some diagonal dashes like this, but it's very, very hard to line up with the doorway properly, so you may have to like do an additional smoke if you miss and things like that. So what the easier way to do, this is a much easier version, but all you have to do, if you want to do a dash like that, if you hear like people coming or you've got a kill, just look where you want to dash and go there, like this. A lot of Jetts do this, a lot of high level Jetts, pro Jetts do this, because it just makes your life easier, essentially. It's a bit harder mechanically. Oh my god. A bit hard mechanically to turn around and do this sometimes, but it is very easy to practice, so very, very worth it. I wouldn't recommend doing any of these deep angles, holding these deep angles like this. This is very much like a chamber type gameplay. Even if your dash is up, it's very, very hard to like time your dash, because chamber can sit there infinitely, while Jazz is going to predict when they're going to come back into her, which is kind of hard. So I wouldn't actually recommend holding angles like this. What I recommend if you want to actually take space is to take more space, essentially, with Jett. Try and get into corners like this one, where you can get like maybe a 1 kill or maybe 2 kills, because that'll be like someone probably won't check this. You probably won't get checked there. You can also sit in even deeper angles like this from a lobby, and this one's a bit more risky, right? Because there's a chance like these players are going to look here anyway. They're going to see you anyway. You probably won't get more than one. But it's really, really good if they actually decide to go through mid instead, because you basically have all the footsteps you need to swing off them, and they won't be looking at you. So then you can actually get like multiple kills from going up short. There's multiple options there. With some other stuff with A main, or like A in general, is that don't be afraid to use like the elevation of the map, right? So don't be afraid some of the rounds to sit on gen, be annoying, or you can even use your updraft, be on here, on glide here. You can technically dash here, but dash is more valuable than updraft is, at least at the start of the round. And then yeah, you've got like a decent angle here to surprise someone. Just bear in mind that if this is smoked, there's going to be people probably flashing through. They might have a silver dart or a fade horn to deal with. So sitting in this angle can suck sometimes. You need to have a teammate that will shoot dart for you or the fade horn for you. And if there's any birds or like chaos flashes coming through, you need to make sure you're playing anti-flash. And then when you hear a flash, you should swing and then try and kill the people coming in the smoke. That's kind of like how you want to play that. When it comes to knives, there is a position here that you can do a double updraft and see into A main. I wouldn't recommend doing that, because the alternative that you can do is way better. So all you have to do is ask for a teammate. So if you don't have access to a teammate that wants to help you, you can do this. Fine. It's not the best though, because what we're giving up, really, we're getting a kill, but we're not actually getting any control, or we're not even like having more potential to get multiple kills, really. Not realistically, anyway. Might do, but very realistic. So you want to have a teammate here, or like around here somewhere that can like KO flash for you or paranoia for you. And then what you can do is you can do this play where you'll updraft and dash onto this wall, and then you can punish the people that are flashed. Bear in mind that this angle is actually better when you've got a vandal out. You can actually spray this like this if you want to stay up top. But if you do have knives, then you can actually be more aggressive with gliding and like that. Very strong thing to do. Next we're going to short. So on short, there's only two things that people generally do. When they have an op, they're going to hold this angle. Like this. They may and once again, we have dash, so we don't want to be sitting here. We want to be sitting a bit further out. People are going to be less likely to pre-aim us. Then we can take a shot and dash away, right? And then if they've got a vandal, or like any other gun, usually we'll sit like in this position. We may notice this position is in like a not great position to dash to. So once again, we want to be looking where we're dashing and dashing forward. Also, this is a good time to actually show you that jump dashing is important as well. So as you can see, if I go to this wall and I dash, I'm going to be 11 meters away. But if I go to this wall and I jump dash, then I'm 13 meters away. Sometimes you can actually get to 14. Like if you are holding down W at the same time, you can get 14. Yeah, with my forward momentum, I get 14. I think with forward momentum on the 11, you might get more as well. Okay, what are you doing? Obviously, I would have 12 and 14, 11 to 13, something like that, right? Based on the dashes you can do. But we're going back to short. This angle, the reason why we want this angle and we don't want something like this is because in this angle, there's two headshot angles to worry about, right? There's one from short and there's one from like down there. So what we want to do is we want to try and avoid any 50-50s that this can present, right? So this is the reason why we're using this angle and we're not using this angle. In fact, I would never use this angle if you can help it. There's very certain situations that this angle's good, which is when you basically have full info that one of one and two things is going to happen. The first thing is that no one's going to walk up catwalk and they're just going to go into mid like this. And the other one is that all of them are going to go catwalk and none of them are going to go into go from mid link. Both of which you can't guarantee without real information, which you won't get yourself as Jett. So not exactly the best of angles to play in ranked, especially. In competitive, there's arguments for it because you can get shooted info essentially where you wanted, where you want to reveal, so then you can play a certain way here. But it's not worth it for the angle, to be honest, and to play like that anyway. Then we go into mid. So in mid, there's a very common operator spot here. It's fine. I would only play this with an operator. I wouldn't do it with the vandal. You can do it with vandal, but I wouldn't do it against like eco. I would only do it versus other guns like vandals and phantoms and things. The reason being, even though they are more lethal against you, and in ecos like you could be against like specters and things. Well, that's actually a fine time to peak that, by the way, with a vandal. The only like concern is like if they have a marshal, you don't really want to be taking this angle because the marshal will have an advantage on you here, believe it or not. Because even though they can't like one-shot body shot you, you don't want to be risking your gun being thrown away because they can marshal headshot you. They actually have like an equal fight with you in some sense, where they can land a headshot and you can land a headshot and you both insta-killed, but you have a lot more to lose than they do. They have a marshal. So that's the reason why I like don't peek it very much on like ecos, especially if I don't know what they're gonna go. Like if it's on like if you're against like an enemy bonus, it's very common, right? To be against like a bonus because one team has to have it every game, right? So it's decently common. So that's when I probably wouldn't swing. It depends. Obviously it depends on if they had a marshal last round. So if they didn't have a marshal last round, I'll be fine doing this. But if they did, then I wouldn't. So this is generally held with the op. You can catch people jump spotting if you've got good enough reaction time and accuracy, but generally it's hard to do. This position you can mix up with the operator as well. Bear in mind that there isn't really a great place to dash to, because if you dash here, you're actually just open in mid basically, and anyone like swinging from tiles and anyone like swinging from like Sabrosa will be able to see you. So it is quite a difficult position, and bear in mind that probably the best line to take is this one, because it forces the trader, the person that has to trade, has to be from tiles and they have to swing wide. So that's the best line for this, even though I don't think it's very good. You can still do it because bear in mind you have your own you have your own smokes as well. So you can do stuff like this where you can just smoke yourself off, try and get into the market, or you can do a different smoke like this to try and get into team. Also, there's also other like aggressive plays you can do. This one's actually hard for me to do because I have C and glide. I've glide on space, holding in space, and I have C for my dash. That one's kind of hard, but for me personally. But do it anyway. So what we want to do is you want to updraft, then you want to glide and dash, and you want to make sure you're gliding because if you don't glide, you don't make it over this wall. And you don't have to even touch this wall as you just watch me demonstrate. So lots of people will like updraft onto this wall, then dash. You can still do it that way if you want to, but you don't have to if you can glide. Technically, that would be easier for me, but you know this is the more efficient way. And honestly, lots of people don't have my same bindings, so this is like the best way. And you can punish anyone that's like flashed or revealed here. So you can have like a Sova play short and do his Odin play. So if you know what the Odin play is for Sova, you would jump out and use your dart here, and then he would have an Odin and spam this corner. And usually you can get kills and people tucking against this dart. There's also some KO flashes you can do. There's one from, I think, this position here that lands about here. And that one is a really good flash to pair with this one. So, yeah, really, really strong play you can do. And then we'll move on to B. So there's not much to do on B. There is, once again, the same off angle as A, really. Where you're going to like try to sit in like some sort of off angle like here, get a kill, then go back. And then there's also the knives updraft, the windows. Which is fine. Although bear in mind that a lot of people are going to be very ready for this, and they're going to hear you updraft, so you're going to get one tapped quite often doing that play. That's why I wouldn't do it very much. And then there's also one more thing, which is the one way here. So you want to aim at this line here. This it will give you a one way. Yeah, that's basically all there is on B. As far as I know, aside from one more thing actually, which is elevation, similar to A. You can get on top of this box, or you can get on top of this box, or you can get on top of this. You actually see this in like pro play. I think EG did this once or twice, where they had Georgiamo up here and they had not Ethan, they had Demon One up here, and they were both playing like high, like these angles, right? So then they could get killed together, and then drop off, which is really good. Decent angle to do to like mix up your opponent. I like it in ranked as well. Sometimes to like sit in this one. If I'm playing like Omen, or if I'm playing Jett, or if I'm playing Raze or something like that. If I'm playing anything that can get up here, it's quite fun to just have this angle, because a lot of people don't expect you. Bear in mind, once again, similar to A, where you need to play anti-flash. If there's flashes, you need to make sure a lot of people can darts for you and things, taunts, because you don't want to give away your position. Then we go over onto attack. Start with B on attack. I swap team for fun as well. So on B, there's like a couple things you can do. So first of all, there's this. So usually you get Sage Wall up here, if you want to as well. But bear in mind that this is wall bangable, and once the shield is gone. So if you want to, you can ask someone to break that shield, and then you have an operator line through the wall on someone peeking this. So you can just ping it, as you can see. Like that's like the operator line I have, right? So if anyone peeks short, then I can wallbang them as on my teammate's contact, if I want to do that, right? It's a possibility anyway. But it's not the greatest of plays. You can still do it if you want to. It's not the greatest of plays. Unfortunately, you can't like do it over the barrier. The barrier actually is a bit too high. So you need to have someone to break that. Or you can have a Sage Wall to get Sage Walled up to a bit here. This is also better with Vandal. Oh, sorry, with the Phantom, with the Operator, where you can see short. But generally, it's a waste of Sage Wall, in my opinion, especially with the new changes to ammo. And then we have the way to go into B. So we've got like the flip side of the windows, where you can updraft into the windows. This one's actually generally stronger. Draft into the window as attack. And the reason being is because you can catch like the defenders like rotating away from the site, or rotating to stairs from site, or going the other way around. They'll go stairs to back site, but bear in mind it is still just as killable, really. So I wouldn't like guarantee this as like a good way to get kills with knives. In fact, I would just use them normally. And so normally, basically what we want to do is we want to be scaling into the site in a certain way. So there's two ways that I'm going to show for B. The first way is to do a dash switch. this, and you just close the door, and then you probably re-smoke yourself. And now when the doors close, the smoke is like kind of lasting that long, and then you can like swing people CT off the smoke, and this is closed, so you've got like one angle sorted for you, and then you can only fight CT. That's the general premise of that play. And then the other play is I'm pretty sure everyone's seen, a lot of people have seen, is draft and dash onto site from the like above this roof. So that's a really strong scaling as well, because it bypasses a lot of the setup that Killjoys might have over here, and gets you in a position that is similar to the lane positions without having to deal with the Killjoy setup. Bear in mind, you are going to be very alone on this site, so you need to make sure you have either backup util or you're very confident that you'll beat this person backside. Obviously it won't always work out, but having like backup util with like reveals or like flashes will definitely help. Also, one thing as well is that one of the best things to happen is to land on this box.
Here.
But the problem is with that is that to land on that box, sometimes you might do this too early. You might end up messing it up and getting stuck on the roof. That's a really bad thing to happen. You don't want to do that. So I would just make sure you get as far away, like as far as possible with this dash, so you don't end up landing on the roof, because that will mean like you're basically a sitting duck for 4 seconds as you fall down. Not to mention as well, if you are against a Killjoy, you'll fall right into their setup. And if you do have knives, then you can same thing basically with both of these setups, but instead you can do things like updraft out and then knives to your advantage. Same with this one as well, that you can dash out and then you can just continue gliding, so it makes it more threatening. A lot of people will think that because you have knives, you have to do something different to those two players. Believe me, you don't. You can literally just you don't have to do anything like this. You can just do the normal setup, right? I'll also quickly talk about as well the dash updraft versus updraft dash. So updraft dash, you'll retain a lot more momentum. When you dash updraft, you actually get a lot of momentum at the start when you actually originally dash, and then you lose a lot of the momentum when you actually updraft at the end. So you tend to get a bit more height with dash updraft, but you tend to retain a lot more momentum when you do updraft dash. So when you've got knives and you want to go out into like open area, you want to be making sure you do updraft dash. And then when you want to go on to like, to be fair, dash updraft is not too much different, but generally it's like if you want to get out of a bad situation and then get into some high grounds, or you want to get out of a bad situation and then continue fighting with someone. That's when you want to use dash updraft. When you want to updraft dash is the better way to use it generally if you're just like making plays. And dash updraft is if you want to like dodge people's bullets while also making that play. Probably over-explain that a bit too much, but I'm sorry. Next we go over mid. We go for tiles. So there's kind of thing for tiles there I talked about, but generally there's not really much to say about tiles. You're gonna have to fight someone here potentially. Operator's gonna be more favourable here, but bear in mind you are mobile. You have to be mobile here. So with the operator, so it's not the best either. You're gonna be peeking into another operator potentially. That can be bad. Even peeking into a vandal is bad as an operator sometimes. A lot of the time. There is some scaling you can do mid, like this, where you can sit in position like this, which is really good for like catching people off guard in mid. You actually see Demon 1 got a kill on against Loud with this spot. And this is also the same spot, but on the other side. I think this kill was actually in post plan, so it wasn't in like mid rounds or anything. And yeah, you just want to like be unpredictable with Jett in mid. That's kind of it really. For Jett, you can sit up here if you want to, but bear in mind you're not going to get much value. You are going to see some people really far away, their heads, but generally like it's pretty better just in this position. Especially because you're probably more with your team that way. And then we go into short. So on short, you can smoke this yourself if you want to, but generally you should have a teammate smoking that. If you wanna scale garden, do like updraft dash into the window. I'd mess it up a tiny bit there, but you can do updraft dash into the window. Here, which is the scaling you can do if you want to. It's really, really strong versus people that play slow onto rafters, like maybe an Omen will play there, but I doubt it. Usually Omens play this, but sometimes you'll have Sovas doing lineups on here and things like that, right? And you catch them off guard sometimes. fades especially, catch off guards more than sovers even, in that situation, because the fades will tend to play towards a bit more than so, well, at least generally in ranked. And then we've got how we scale out into the actual site. So there's 2 ways to do that that I'm going to show at least, which is we'll draft onto Jen from short. That's basically it really. You can prime dash if you want to there, and then you can do this if you want to, but bear in mind this is very, like, they can hear this the whole time and you can get spammed through smokes and things, so it's not the best of spots. Up here as well, you can ping this if you want to, and then you can do some sprays through the wall. You are sprayable back though, so be careful that you could very easily die in retaliation. Another way to get into site, there's 2 more ways that I can talk about here, or like three more ways actually. So there's a dice here to do as well, and this is also popular from main sometimes, especially for like omens. Omens tend to do this one more than Jets, but you can do it as Jett. There's one here as well in the middle of the site. With this one, you should probably be extended it with a second Jett smoke to really make them waste a lot of time looking at you, and it breaks a lot of crossfires that way as well. But it tends to be better to go in these 2 deeper ones anyway. You can also, okay, if you don't miss, you can actually smoke this too with your draft as well if you want to. If you think someone's site, and then you can use it to peek. And then if there's one main, if you didn't like clear main, or like someone died main for instance, you can do a dash into main as well, if you want to. And this is best paired with like a KO flash over the top from here, where you throw it up there. That's also like a really good KO flash to like clear back, like get main back basically. If you want to do that, if you need to do that for whatever reason, if you didn't have main control, and that's basically from short. So from main, first of all, I did already show this, but I will say it again, is that you can line up. So if you go into basically what we have to do is go into this corner and line up at the top of this turkey leg. Then when you go sideways, this will be exactly head height. Here, look, perfectly head height on the players there. You don't have to move your mace at all at that point now. You don't have to move your mace at all. It's always going to be head height by the way you aim there on that line. There is another lineup as well for that somewhere. I think Ruhijin has it, so I have to. But mine is this. It works. It works for me. It works for me. Maybe there's like a better version of it that I don't know about. And then there's other things from this angle, which is this jump here. So this jump, a lot of people make noise. There is a way to do this silently. So the way to do it silently is you want to make sure you're right at the back of the bike, and you want to get as much momentum as possible. Right before you jump, you want to press shift. I mess it up there, but yeah, you want to press shift. You want to press shift as you jump, basically, or just before you jump. Oh, okay, that did it for me there. Oh my god. I clearly can't do it, but you can do it. It is possible. There you go. Didn't take me too long. But yeah, it is possible. With enough practice, you'll get this right every time. I clearly don't have enough practice. So next is scaling out into the site. So there's everyone knows this one, I think, is the dash updraft to Jen. And once again, the same way it kind of plays out from short. You can use this to spam. You can just hold this angle if you want to, or you can drop off after the actual like taking of the site to play a different post plant angle if you want to. And then there is also one on the right. Oh, sorry, I did promo dash. You can go dash out into the right as well. This one's also really good. This one was very popular, I think, last Champions. Maybe the Champions before that even. Like the first Champions, I think. It was actually quite a popular one. If I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that. Might be in the second Champion. And then we've got the last one, which is the dash dice, which is ones that generally omens do, but essentially it splits the sight on them. It's also really good as well if you have like a shorty or something. Sometimes an omen will smoke this here and it will cover all this. If you want to do this dash here, you can go next to him with a shorty and then you can like jump into his smoke and kill him if he's there. So that's sometimes good as well if you notice the omen smoking this. This smoke is like the best play. This dash is probably the best play. The gen one isn't too bad, but generally I think the omen is favoured when that happens. But this one he's not really particularly favoured if you have like a shorty or a shotgun in some way. So yeah, that's it I think for the guide. I went over some Jett like tech as well with the dash up draft stuff and the like jump dash stuff as well, which is like normal for my first guides with an agent, because this is my first Jett guide. Because generally she hasn't really been like, didn't really feel like I needed to do it, but I feel like as time's gone on, it makes a lot more sense for me to do duelist guides, especially ones that are more like Jett, that have a lot of people play them. It makes a lot more sense for me to do. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one.